Доброе утро, товарищи. Tовarish Garegos here. Welcome back to the pit. Because this is the day of the armies of the Soviet Union gracing up our battlefields. So as per tradition, we're going to take a thorough look at what this nice book has in store. It's always the 112 pages that we have been expected so far. It's always the 30 years we have been expected so far. To the surprise of absolutely no one, the first pages are just of background stuff. I would say the first 26 pages. You just find a little bit of background, a little bit of saying how cool is the NKVD, how cool are the airborne, etc., etc. And then finally, we get into the army list proper with the army special rules. Now, we did do a quick preview about the Army Special Rules when War of Games released the intelligence reports, but we might as well take a look at them again. So the first one is the Great Patriotic War. Throughout the war, Russian forces endured a casualty rate unimaginable in the West, and which would undoubtedly have broken a people less intended to hardship and sacrifice. Whenever a unit of infantry, including HQ or artillery models, fails a morale check and would be destroyed as a consequence, take the test again and apply the second result. This is pretty much like it was in version 2. It can be handy at times. The rerolls are very, very scarce in bolt action, so having one is always a good thing. Then we have something new for the motherland. The masses of soldiers recruited from all across the vast territory of the Soviet Union, often lacking training, but made up for that with their unparalleled fighting spirit. Every inexperienced unit that has one or more pin markers can attempt to lose one pin marker if there are any enemy units within 12 inches immediately before an order is given to it. Roll a dice. On a roll of 4, 5, or 6, the test is passed and the unit loses one pin marker. On a 1, 2, or 3, the test is failed and the unit retains the pin markers it has. Once this has been done, continue to test to see if the unit obeys its order in the usual way, even if it lost the last pin marker, in which case the order test is taken without negative modifiers from pin markers. Now, this rule is taken from the old revenge special abilities that the Brits had, which were pretty much the same. If you had enemies within 12 inches on a 4+, you shred one pin for free. The only difference, it applies only to inexperienced troops, which makes it way weaker, because on overall, inexperienced units aren't as plentiful as they were. Now, maybe if you do like an inexperienced bomb, this can be useful, but again, given that we can't use it on regular and veterans, makes it way less strong. But there is more to come, so don't despair. Lack of radios. Soviet tanks lack quality communications equipment, initially relying on rudimentary communication such as semaphore. When you give the command vehicle special rule to a vehicle that doesn't have it in its entry for the purposes of choosing a command vehicle for an armored platoon, you can give it the rule for free instead of paying the normal plus 10 points. If you do so, however, the vehicle reduces the radius of its command vehicle rule from 12 inches to 6 inches. This represents communication by means of flags or hand signals. Now, besides the fact that I still think that giving away the command vehicle rule to everyone for 10 points is stupid, this rule is also quite, I don't know, niche. I don't think it would be worth it, a national special rule. I mean, okay, probably everyone and their mother is going to have an armored platoon, so it doesn't matter if you want to save 10 points on or not. Anyway, now we're getting better. Mass batteries. The Soviets excelled in their use of massed artillery, and Red Army artillery barrages were truly terrifying. When rolling to determine the fire for effect radius from the aiming point, usually the 6 plus 6 inches, instead roll 2 dice and take the high score. For example, if you roll a 2 and a 5, the roll of 5 is used, so units within 5 plus 6 equal 11 inches of the aiming point will be hit by the barrage. See the detection rulebook, page 114. This, of course, despite the fact that it is not explicitly written, is for the artillery forward observer. Now, having a large explosion radius is insanely good because it can cover so much more of the battlefield, thus risking of making it even more devastating than it usually is. Now, this is good, a decent rule, a solid rule. Again, I don't like playing with observers in general, but if you do, this is solid. Then we have a sparkling new rule. We have a flying tank rule. The Ilyushin Il-2 was the most produced military aircraft designs at the time, with few designs eclipsing the quantities produced to this day. The Il-2 was an incredibly tough plane and was known as the flying tank due to its armor plating. It was a deadly and feared weapon on the Eastern Front. When a Soviet forward air observer calls in an airstrike, treat a roll of a 4, 5, or 6 on the warplane type table as the ground attack aircraft result. Additionally, if a ground attack aircraft type is rolled, an enemy unit attempting to shoot it down requires 5 hits rather than the usual 3. Now, this makes things way more interesting from an airstrike point of view. Pretty much like in the case of the artillery observer, I don't particularly condone the use of observers because at times they can make weird things to a game. Usually, air observers are less strong than their artillery counterparts. With this rule, you have basically a 50% chance to blow a big chunk in your opponent's army, and the fact that the shooting down the aircraft requires 5 hits rather than just 3 make it way more reliable, because, well, flak need to hit 2 more times in order to destroy the flying tank. So this can be pretty solid. Then we have the not one step back special rule. Commissars are political officers and do not confer a morale bonus to nearby troops. If soldiers show signs of disobeying orders, the commissars will not hesitate to shoot them. When a friendly infantry unit fails an order test within 6 inches of a commissar, remove 1 model from the unit and re-roll the dice. Note that there is no choice in the matter. If the commissar is within 6 inches of the unit, he will shoot deserters whether you want him to or not. The second result stands as normal. The commissar can only make a single re-roll in each unit affected. This rule only applies to infantry units of 3 or more models, so no sniping on snipers, or AT rifles, or, well, you get the idea. If a unit has an initial size of or has been reduced to 1 or 2 models, this rule does not apply. They can be cowards as normal. And then finally, we have the hammer and sickle special rule, which is the one about veterans. Pretty much like for the fatherland, by air, earth, water, and sea, and whatever. So it's the usual crap. Certain infantry and artillery units in this book may have additional options to represent the distinct forces of the airborne, NKVD, or the naval brigade. A unit entry may contain options to take the unit as one of these forces. It is listed in the army, etc., etc. I'm skimping a little bit, otherwise we'll be here all day. So vehicles can belong to one of the 3 branches, but they get no special abilities whatsoever. So the 3 rules are as follow. Airborne units must be taken as veteran, nothing new. Units must be upgraded to stubborn for +1 point per model, as per usual. For NKVD, units must be upgraded to fanatics for +2 points per model. Note that this does not say that units have to be veterans, so you can have a lot of fanatics going around, possibly. And finally, the Naval Brigade, which actually, honestly, I was expecting some kind of a guards buff, but here we are, stuck with a Naval Brigade. Units must be upgraded to tough fighters for +1 points per model. Now, tough fighters is a great rule, and the only problem is that usually in your hand-to-hand units, you will give them SMGs, so they have already tough fighters. But this is just something a little more oomph. Then we have the quartermaster stores. Actually, these are the rules that are not army special rules, but still are extra rules, like extra options, better than rules. For the Russians, we have the victory banner. Any infantry or artillery unit within 12 inches and line of sight to the victory banner adds +1 to its morale value. Only one victory banner may be included in a force. A model equipped with the victory banner exchanges all of their weapons for a pistol. The victory banner cannot be given to a unit's leader, e.g. NCO, officers, etc., so the unit must consist of at least 2 targets, 2 figures. This is by itself is good. I mean, it's 12 inches bubble of +1 morale with no downsides, unlike the English officers. Can have only 1, but it's very fluffy. I mean, no respectable Red Army goes to war without a victory banner, I think. So I think we will see them everywhere, and it's only right that it is like this. Then we have one piece of equipment which has always been, shall we say, debatable, in the fact that it is, in my opinion, one of the strongest pieces of war gear in the game, and it's just so good. It's the SN42 body armor. The Red Army used several types of body armor, but only the SN42 Stalinoy Nagrudnik steel breastplate, design year 1942, appears to have been put into large-scale production. It consisted of 2 pressed steel plates that protected the front of the torso and groin. The plates were 2 mm thick and weighed 3.5 kilograms, 7.7 libras. This armor was supplied to assault engineers and to the tank riders of some tank brigades. The SN armor protected wearers from 9mm bullets fired by an MP40 at around 100 meters. which made it useful in urban fighting such as during the Battle of Stalingrad. However, the essence weight made it impractical for infantry in the open. Hits from small arms, rifles, machine guns, etc., HE weapons, and close-quarter attacks suffer a -1 modifier when rolling to damage soldiers wearing body armor. Which means, in a nutshell, that if you give body armor to regular troops, they effectively count as being veterans, so you win them only on a 5+, which, if you played 3rd edition, you will know this can be a pretty big deal. But if by any chance you give these bad boys to your veteran engineers, they only get wounded on a roll of a 6, which is insane survivability. These are Terminator levels of survivability, if not better. Now, there is a downside. Troops wearing body armor do not increase their pace when given a run order. They run at a pace of 6 inches, which would be bad if it was not for the fact that they always, and I mean always, come onto the field loaded on transports that basically negate this disadvantage. So yeah, Soviet combat engineers have always been a problem, the way I see it, and with the spamming capabilities of 3rd edition, I'm guessing it will probably be even worse. Now again, I might be crying wolf too much. It is possible, but still, this little piece of war gear, if it is too ubiquitous, it's not good for the game, in my opinion. Then we have skis, as usual, demolition charges, always the same rule, and we have guard dogs. A model equipped with a guard dog gains the Tough Fighter special rule. In addition, they can spot hidden enemies at 24 inches rather than the normal 12 inches. Now, guard dogs were introduced, as far as I remember, for the United States Marine Corps. I don't think they give them to fighters as well. Anyway, I think there's a pretty niche rule, so... So, finally we move on to the Infantry Corps. Headquarters units. The officer were already being released to the wild of the internet during the intelligence reports, and we featured it on the channel already. What's new about the officer? Nothing particular. You have, as usual, platoon commanders or company commanders. They can be taken from early, mid to late war. They can be inexperienced, regular, or veteran. You can have up to 4 men. You don't have the possibility to have extra men like we saw on other armies, for example, like the US getting 2 extra men per airborne, etc. Any model can replace the rifle with a submachine gun for 4 points or a pistol for -1. If the officer is commanding an engineer platoon, all models may be given S42 body armor for +5 points each. And they can take the victory banner for 20+ point. So, my guesstimate is that we are going to have plenty of engineering platoons in Russian armies. And we will have like an extra super tough unit, because at this point you will give your platoon commander squad SMG, full SMG and full body armor, I think, most of the time. While you go in for a very cheap rifle platoon, like for some long-range fire support, just objective holding, etc. While the big boys do their thing. And of course, now they added directly the wording that if all the models are armed with like bicycles or motorcycles, you can give the people in the command unit as well. Nothing new. Then we have the Commissar. The Commissar is only inexperienced at 15 points. He has a rifle. He might have a retinue of up to 4 men. They can all have submachine guns. One can have a victory banner and another can have guard dog. They are fanatics. And you know, if they weren't inexperienced, at least regular, they could be made into a pretty important unit, but being inexperienced is quite a reliability. Then you have the medic, usual medic, regular or veteran. Nothing to see here, usual rules. Forward observers, as per usual. You can have either artillery or air force. They cost the same. They can be regular or veteran. They can have up to 2 men, and they can have submachine guns, etc. And you get both the mass batteries in case of the artillery observer and a flying tank in case of the air observers. Then the real meat of the Russian army, the infantry squads and teams. We have the rifle squad, which is inexperienced. Straight up. You begin with 5 men for 35 points, and you can get up to 7 more dudes, and they are green though. This can make a little difference, so you can have 5 and 12 men inexperienced with nothing. You can give them Molotovs. But now they're not for free. So then we have light machine gun squads. Now, a quick digression. Well, the second edition book was built in a slightly different way. The way this book seems to be written is to be way more dedicated. For example, light machine gun squad, again, they can be inexperienced or regulars for 50 points, usual. Start with 5 men, add up to 7 more, 1 SMG for the NCO if you want, and you can have up to 2 light machine guns. So these are the fire support squads I was mentioning earlier. Now, in second edition, you could only have a second light machine gun in very specific theaters and combinations. So far, it says just bring them on. So probably for your mandatory rifle platoon before you take the engineers, you take a pair of light machine gun squads of like 7 or 8 dudes with 2 LMGs. Pretty effective. Then we have the tried and tested submachine gun squad. Again, they have always been super powerful, and they still are. Again, they can be taken as inexperienced or regulars, starting at 5 men, adding up to 7 more. You can have up to 1 light machine gun, which I think it's crazy to even give them the option, because these guys either run the first couple turns and then they start unleashing death on the enemies. Again, a super strong unit, one of the few armies that can have a regular, if not the only, a regular full SMG squad. Insane. Then we have the tank riders squad. They can be regular or veteran. They start at 5 men with submachine guns, and they can add up to 6, all with submachine guns. The good thing about them is that they can have body armor for plus 5 points per models. Thus, let me finish. They can be given anti-tank grenades, and they have the tank riders rule, which reads that a tank rider unit can mount onto or dismount from a tank, counting it as a transport for these purposes. Once mounted, the unit is replaced by a few tank rider models, etc., etc. A single unit of tank riders can ride upon each tank. As with other transported units, the tank riders cannot be targeted while they ride upon the tank. However, unlike with other transported troops, tank riders must immediately disembark if the tank they are riding upon is shot at. As soon as the firer is found to be within range of the tank rider unit immediately disembarks before the roll to hit. Unit disembarking in this way is treated like unit disembarking from a transport that has been immobilized by enemy fire. In addition, tank riders may not mount on a vehicle with the recce rule. Having a number of men clinging to the back of the vehicle isn't conducive to keeping a low profile. Now, this is another of the problematic units. So let's say, but Gregos, the engineers, they are too powerful. I'm not gonna take engineers. I'm gonna be a historical gamer. So I'm just going for tank riders. So you have the chance to have lots of dudes going around on their body armor without even needing an engineering platoon, if you so desire. Of course, you miss on the flamethrower, but you can still have an almost, technically, you can field almost all body armored wearing infantry army, which is so weird and so wrong the way I think of the Soviet Union. That makes me very, very, very sad. Very, very sad. Then we have the guards. The guards are just dudes with rifles. They can only be regular. The poor guards. Begin with 5 up to 6. They also can all be given SMGs. They also can be given LMGs. In mid and late war, up to 1 man can get a Panzerfaust, and that's it. So the guards are basically a regular unit that can be whatever you want. You can make them be all submachine gunners. You can make them be all light machine gun support. Which, now, in a sense, again, it makes sense to be able to field full guards regiments, but yeah, the Soviet Union is insane in the tailoring capabilities of its squads. You can have some very, very strong all-purpose units, and then we have the veteran squads. They can only be veterans, of course. They begin with 5 men up to 6 more. They can all be given SMGs. Up to 2 can have LMGs. Up to 2 can have Panzerfausts. And the veterans can only be taken in mid or late war, unlike all the other infantry. They can all be tough fighters. They can all have anti-tank grenades. So basically they can have whatever the heck you want. They are probably one of the most customizable unit in bolt action right now. Then we have NKVD squads. They can be inexperienced or regulars. They arm with rifles. Start at 5 up to 6 more. They can all have SMGs if you want. You can have up to 1 LMG if you want. And they are all fanatics. Fanatics are, well, very solid because you just have to wipe them out. And consider that usually, I mean, if you play by background, with Russians, you are either playing the things. Most of the times you'll be fighting the Germans, maybe some Japanese for some what-if scenarios. Now, Japanese have lots of fanatics themselves, so it's just going to be a massacre. Against the Germans, if you're not up against SS fanatics, it makes a lot of difference to have fanatic hand-to-hand combat units. Then you have the Strafbat squad, your inexperienced shirkers that for $25 per unit, they bring you five guys with rifles. Up to 7 more, but with the guard dog if you want for +2 points, and nothing else about it. We have a cavalry squad. They can be regular or veterans, start at 5 up to 5. They can all have submachine guns. They can have 1 LMG. Note, they can be mounted on horses if you want. If you don't want, you can just field a non-foot regular army or veteran army actually, and basically play them as guards, and they are effectively the same unit. Okay, with slightly less options, you can't have anti-tank grenades. Oh, I'm sorry. Then you have the Cossacks, which are different kind of cavalry, of course. They can be regular or veteran, like the others. They begin at 5 men, up to 5 more. You can give them less submachine guns, only NCO +2. You can have 1 light machine gun if you want. You can have 1 captured Panzerfaust. Cossacks, they also can be not on foot. Note. They are cavalry if you take horses, +3 points per model. Skilled riders, they treat obstacles as open ground while mounted, except when assaulting defended obstacles. Okay, note that this says obstacles as open ground, so it's not fieldcraft. It's only jumping through obstacle. It's not dressage. I don't know what the technical term is for horse racing, but yeah, they can jump over obstacles for free, unless the target is behind an obstacle. Okay. Then we have the People's Militia Squad, inexperienced, 5 up to 7. They can be add unarmed, so this is the mob rules. 1 man can have a victory banner though, and they are all green, so they are an inexperienced squad, but dressed differently. Then we have the Siberian Squad. They can be regular or veteran, so not veteran only. They can start with 5 up to 7. Of course, to the surprise of no one, you can have full SMGs, 1 LMG if you want, anti-tank grenades. You can give them all to fighters. They can take skis for free. And this is it. Then you have Sky Troops squads. The only difference being that they cannot be made tough fighters, and that's that. And they come with Cs. Only that they pay they don't pay the same, so there is basically the only difference is that you don't get the captured Panzerfaust. No, never mind. There is no captured Panzerfaust either. It's just the tough fighters. So Siberian squads can be made tough fighters. Regular Sky Troopers, not. Okay. But you can field Sky Troops even in early war. So, ironically, you could field in so many ways because let me take just a quick look back. No, technically you can field now veteran squads. You can't field in early war, but technically, if you still love your veterans, you can field a full army of Sky Troopers, veteran, with full SMGs in early war, and make your opponent miserable. Nice. Then we have the airborne squads. Usually they come way earlier. Now in this book they made them wait their moment to shine. They have to be veterans. Start with 5 up to 7. They can be full machine gunners. You can have one LMG. They can be given the tough fighters rule in addition. And then it's a sad unit of airborne. Your basic airborne. Nothing extra fancy. They can be made tough fighters, which is good. That is good. That much is good. So stubborn, tough fighter, airborne troopers. I don't know you, but let me know. Don't you have, in how many games you played without seeing veterans on the table? Now, I still like to think that veterans are somehow to make them stand out, they're kind of the exception. Again, unless you're playing something like again, Market Garden, then it's fine. You have full veterans because that's what they were. But having in every single friendly game so many veterans, it bores me, I'll be honest. But this is a book review. Let's go on. Naval Squad. Regular or veteran, they start with 5 up to 7. Well, it's always the same. You can give them full SMGs, you can give them an LMG, and they are native tough fighters. So, once again, since these guys are early, mid, and late, if you don't like, I don't play Sky Troops because that's unreasonable. You just play a full veteran naval squad army from early war, all tough fighters. Just nice, which is strictly better than the Sky Troops because they can be tough fighters as well. Makes them even stronger. Then you have the Partisans. The Partisans, 5 inexperienced dudes up to 15, so you can have a mob of up to 20 dudes. 1 SMG, 1 LMG. They have the green special rule, and they have the vengeance special rule, which is actually a different unit, a different rule. If the enemy force includes any Waffen SS units, this unit gains the Fanatic special rule for the entire game. Okay. So the Partisans become Fanatics if faced with Waffen SS, which is kind of fluffy, but it is what it is. Then we have the Scouts. All veterans started 4 up to 3 more. Full SMG, anti-tank. If the unit is not increased beyond the initial 4-man, 1 unit per platoon may replace the Scouts lead the way with the Infiltrators rule for free. Oh, I didn't notice this. So, mid-late war unit, by default, they come with the scouts lead the way rule. They can make this incredibly powerful scouting move begin before the game even begins. This was supposed to be the shtick of the Rangers, because Rangers lead the way, but seemingly scouts do the same. So you can either infiltrate 4 dudes for free, and the rest will just run in straight at the beginning of the game. So, fun fact, and they also have behind enemy lines, so they ignore the -1 modifier when coming on the table from reserves. So basically, if you've seen my video about my Russian army collection, you should you should see me delighted, because I own so many scouts, it's ridiculous. And now I can make them extra powerful. Don't like this rule. Then we have the motorcycles, 5 men up to 6, full SMGs. They can all be given motorcycles or motorcycles with sidecars for +5 points per model. They have to be regular. And then we get to the assault engineer squad. Early, mid, late war. So you can always field them. They have to be veterans. They begin with 5 men. You can get up to 6 more men. Full SMGs. 1 light machine gun, which nobody cares about. 1 flamethrower for 30 points. Another man becomes the loader. In mid and late war, up to 2 men may have a Panzerfaust. 1 man may have a demo charge. They can all have anti-tank grenades. And they can all have the SN42 body armor. And they have the engineer special rules. Now, this has always been one of the most insane units of bolt action, and I think they are no exception. I haven't made any points calculation, but I can tell you, and assault engineers with body armors are always gonna be insane. And by the way, please note that technically, despite the fact that, as we read earlier, this body armor has been developed in the year 1942, according to the entry of the assault engineer squad, you can field them in early war. So when Barbarossa strikes in 41, they can already be met with full veteran engineer teams with body armor. Good luck, Germans. Good luck. You will need it. MMG team is the same, but it can have a gun shield. So, your usual, but you can have a gun shield. You can have heavy machine gun. You can have a gun shield. You can have a tripod to give them flak. And you can make them airborne for those extra juicy morale. Now, HMGs are pretty powerful in 3rd edition, and you can make these even better. Then you have anti-tank rifle. Now, you have your usual anti-tank rifle, 2 men. They may add a 3rd crewman for +5 points, so they are not necessarily a 2-man unit anymore. They can be regular or veteran, team weapon, hammer and sickle, and regimental support. If an anti-tank rifle team is taken in a rifle platoon, a 2nd anti-tank rifle team may be taken in the same platoon. paying its cost as normal. So in second edition, every single anti-tank choice allowed you to field up to 3 units. Here they worded things differently. So if you actually take one anti-tank rifle team, you can have a second by paying its cost. Empolement is the usual early mid, all 3 veterancies. And no, for example, the empolement doesn't have that the special rules of the regimental support. So you can have, for example, just 1 in your infantry, in your rifle platoon. Which makes me sad because, again, as you know, I have like, I don't know, 3 empolements. Ridiculous. Then you have the Tank Hunters anti-tank team. They start with 2 dudes. You can have up to 4 armed with rifles, anti-tank grenades. They can be all 3 veterancy levels. They can be full SMGs. In mid and late, they can have 1 Panzerfaust. They can be naval brigades, so they can be fanatics. Tough tank hunters. This unit has all the usual rules for tank hunters. In addition, they double their attacks in close combat against vehicles. And they are infiltrators. So they just attack a lot. We have dog mines. Lovely, lovely doggos. We begin with 2 handlers. Each one of them has a dog mine. They can be the whole spectrum of veterancy. Dog mines, they work as usual, range of 18. You roll a dice. On a roll of 1, the poor doggo explodes near to an allied vehicle. 2 to 4 does nothing. 5 to 6, the vehicle is hit with a pen of +3. So the poor doggos are not particularly good, really. Let's face them. We have sniper teams. Now, they are your usual sniper team. So far you don't have that mixed unit that you had in the Stalingrad supplement book. Command pistols and rifles, your usual stuff. They can be airborne, NKVD, or naval brigade, though. Flamethrower team, usual, regular or veteran. They can be body armored. This can make a difference. Interestingly, it is not mentioned anywhere, but I'm guessing this is going to be corrected. They are not mentioned to be engineers. If I remember correctly, all other... do we have a book around? No, this is an old book. I have to check. This, so far, it says nowhere that you have to have engineers to take them. So possibly you can have your usual early war veteran flamethrower team in body armor. Insane. They can be airborne, NKVD, and naval brigade to boot. Okay, light mortars, same. Medium mortar, the same. Heavy mortar, just the same stuff. Field artillery, your usual complement of light, medium, and heavy artillery. Again, they work in all periods. They can be all full range of veterancy, so not spending too much time. The heavy artillery, though, has a slight difference. You may take an integrated tractor for +10 point. This upgrade represents the B4 howitzer, BR2, and BR5. Which means that This allows the gun to be moved by its crew as if it were a medium howitzer. So you can give mobility to your artillery, which is usually one of the big problems of artillery, that once it's fielded, it doesn't move. So we can have heavy artillery that actually strolls around the battlefield. Then we have the MT-13 mortar. This is new. Fired a huge 160mm round that was too heavy for crew to drop down the 2-meter long tube. So, of course, let's put it in a game. Mid-late, 3 veterancies. A regular one costs 100 points. To give you an idea. It takes 5 men to fire it. It's a super heavy mortar, and already you may add a spotter. Team weapon fixed, super heavy mortar. Treat this weapon as a heavy howitzer, except that it may only fire indirectly and has a range of 12 to 72. Oh, so it's a mortar, then shoots as a heavy howitzer, only indirect. So you can actually lob those lovely 4-inch templates. I'm sorry. I don't want to play Soviets. I don't want to play against Soviets. I don't want to. M30 heavy rocket launcher. Your multiple rocket launcher of choice. The first one, actually, there's gonna be more. Full veterancy, mid-late war. To give you an idea, it comes at 65 points. Regular, 5 men. And he just fires HE4 rockets. However, to represent the fact that it's so slow to reload after it has fired, it must be given a successful rally order before it can be ordered to fire again. Oh, good God. So this is very hit and miss. If you hit with one of these dudes, you destroy everything. I don't know, if you know me, again, these units, very swingy but very powerful. I hate the concept. Anti-aircraft guns. We have 37mm heavy automatic cannon on a rotating platform. Starts with 50 points regular. 25mm light autocannon on a rotating platform. The usual Oerlikon, Bofors, and similar. For just 40 points, regular with the gun shield and flak. What's not to love? Nothing. There's all to love. Or you can have a nice 85mm heavy anti-tank gun for 100 points. Probably better take 2 light autocannons for less points. Anti-tank guns, we begin with the 45mm model, light anti-tank gun. Again, nothing new. M42, again light anti-tank gun, but with improved ballistics. Within half range, it has a penetration of 5. So it's just better. But it can only be taken mid-late war, while the first one is ubiquitous. Then we have the ZS2. Medium anti-tank gun can be also fired. Oh no, never mind. This too, against target within half range, it counts its penetration as 6. It's a medium anti-tank gun with +6 penetration at mid-range for 85 points regular. Then we have the ZIS 3. This is the medium anti-tank gun, which is versatile and can be fired as a light howitzer at 85 regular. Then we have a heavy anti-tank gun, the A-19. It's also versatile, can also fire as a medium howitzer, 135 point regulars, all veterancy, all good. A super heavy anti-tank gun, all veterancies, 5-man gun shield, late war only. And finally, we arrive after 60 pages, so at the midpoint of the book. Actually, no, a little more. We come to the vehicles. Tanks. As usual, there are so many vehicles. I'm not going to read every single entry, otherwise this video that is already 1 hour long will take 2 more hours, and nobody wants that. We have the T-26 light tank, first version, MMG, actually 2 MMGs for 65 points. We're going to see plenty of those. 26B, which is with a light anti-tank gun and coaxial LMG, or the OT-26 with your nice flamethrower action. BT-5, BT-7 light tank. So these the T-26 were just armor carriers, damage value of 7. The BT-5 and BT-7 are light tanks, and you can have one with a light howitzer for just 135 points. These are fast though, these little dudes are fast. Then we have the T-37 amphibious armor carrier with just an MMG for 60 points. T-40 light tanks, turret-mounted HMG with coaxial MMG. I wonder what I am going to fire. So, for 70 points... Now, okay, let's take a quick comparison with the HMG team. We start at 70 regular. This chap clocks at the exact 70 regular points. Of course, it has more shots, but he is immune to small arms, can capture objectives. Still, it's solid. Don't know why they gave them a coaxial MMG though. T-50 tank, light anti-tank gun that nobody is gonna take. Oh no, you can add a coaxial LMG. Still, it's like the T-26 with better armor. T-60, one light. Oh, finally the autocannon spammables. T-60, 105 point regular, light autocannon with LMG. Here we are. T-70, more or less the same. Again, most vehicles, as in all of bolt action, they are mostly the same things, just reimagined with new names and different combinations. In early war, you can field a T-28 with 150 points, net you a turret-mounted light howitzer with coaxial LMG, one turret MMG from the front and left, one turret from the front and right, and one for the rear on a light tank chassis. You can also add an additional pintle-mounted MMG if you want. You can add the reinforced front armor and slow for plus 10 points. And you may replace the light howitzer for free. But still, for 150 points, you have basically one light howitzer. It's just early war. 2 extra MMGs. Technically 3, but maybe the one rear facing you're never gonna use. Well, it's a good deck tank. It can be slowed, but then he goes at 9 damage value. You know, it's one of those that were only 503 manufactured according to their page. You will see many of those. T-34-76, your classic, the quintessential World War II Soviet tank, which clocks in at 195 points regular with a medium anti-tank and coaxial LMG as plus forward-facing hull mounted. Armor 9 is nothing to write home about, but you can slap on it a flamethrower. And you have the T-34-85 in mid-late war with just a heavy anti-tank gun for 225 points. The rest is exactly the same. Then we have the Tractor Factory T-34. This is something we knew from the intelligence reports. You can only buy them as inexperienced. They only cost 140 points. They are the early version, so you only have a medium anti-tank gun, and you have to select one drawback. First one is no optics. Main gun additional -1 a hit. Hastily repaired. If you suffer superficial damage, you take full damage. Or factory worker crew. The unit always has to test, even if it doesn't have any pins. So probably hastily repaired is the go-to option. After all, it's still an Armor 9 tank, which costs you very few points. Then we have the T-35 heavy tank in late war, 274 points regular. It's unreliable. It comes with a lot of turrets. Tournament light howitzer with coaxial. Another 2 turrets. 1 light anti-tank gun. Front and right. So, okay, you have 1 light howitzer, 2 light anti-tank, 2 MMGs. So just have a slew of little guns on a medium tank. Heavy-1, finally. Heavy tank, damage value of 10, clocks at 280 points regular. Just with the medium anti-tank gun with coaxial and 1 rear-facing MMG and 1 hull MMG. It comes with armored all-round, so you can't destroy it with most of the early game anti-tank, at least. You can remove that rule, though, for a discount of 20 points. Or you can replace the medium anti-tank gun and coaxial with a light anti-tank gun and coaxial flamethrower, which is probably even better. You just, you roll the monster, the behemoth forward and just roast people. It is low, though. Then we have the KV-85, and Joseph Stalin 1, mid-late war, 295 points per regular with a heavy anti-tank gun with coaxial, a rear MMG, and a forward-facing MMG. The classic heavy tank experience, Armor 10, heavy anti-tank gun. It's not super heavy yet. 300 points. Nothing to write home about. And then we have the ES2, only late war. Still costs the same, 295 per regular, costs exactly the same, but it can have a pintle mounted HMG. It is slow load, the other one was not, but you have an HE3 gun. Then we have the Josef Stalin 3, the ES3, late war only, for a bargain 450 points regular, 540 if you want this bad boy to be a veteran. Comes with a heavy anti-tank gun with coaxial and one Pinto HMG on the turret, so nothing on the hull. It's super heavy though. Damage value of 11. Improved HE. Again, this bad boy shoots HE3. And it has reinforced front armor. So it has damage value of 12 when shot from the front. Good luck. But, Then we have tank destroyers. This 30. Open top. Very cheap. Again, I'm skimming because I don't think there's a point of reading every single entry. Basically, you have medium anti-tank gun, heavy anti-tank gun, and super heavy anti-tank gun on different and the various Su-85 with a heavy for 205. The Su-100, 245 for just a super heavy anti-tank on a medium chassis. And the Isu-122 for almost 300 points at regular. You get the heavy anti-tank gun on a heavy tank chassis though, with improved HE. No super heavy. Yeah, the super heavy anti-tank gun you have to pay for the Su-100. Self-propelled artillery, the good old trusty Su-76 with 105 points for a forward-facing light howitzer on a light tank chassis. For 35 points, you can give in armor-piercing ammunition, meaning that you get to shoot your light howitzer as a medium anti-tank gun, so pretty solid. And if you want, if you're smart, you just upgrade it to an Su-76I, which doesn't have open top, for 10 points more. They still have the possibility of upgrading his upgunning, actually up ammunitioning it for 10 points to have a medium anti-tank gun. You have forward-facing medium howitzer, Su-122. Didn't we have it already here? Oh no, that was the ISU. This is just SU. KV-2, just your weak 300 points regular tank with a heavy howitzer with coaxial on a heavy tank chassis. Slow load, slow. Can have an extra flamethrower. Not extra, just in place of the coaxial MMG. Another beast. So this is like a Navu RE Churchill. It's still slow, it's slow load. It doesn't have the reduced range. Not that it cares. Again, it's one of those units I would advise you to be really, really careful about fielding every single time. Things get boring very fast. And finally, of course, we have for 300 points square at regular, a forward-facing heavy howitzer, a big shell with a pen of +5, Su-132 and ESU-152, just blasting people. Very fun and interactive way to play bolt action. The Katyusha, the classic, 75 points on a soft skin multi-launcher that just have to remain stationary while firing. But again, why not throw it there and do damage? You have the Tachanka, which is a card. It's there. Now, okay, it's a card like an inexperienced in a soft game 3+ card with a rear-facing MMG. Note, funnily enough, it may not be given the command vehicle special rule, because otherwise, what do? You take for 16 points one of these bad boys, you give them the command rule for free, and you have a command vehicle. Ugh. Sorry. Then you have the Bronkater, the Soviet riverine craft, which I don't know what they put in, but it counts as a medium tank, which can transport up to 12 men. It starts with the medium anti-tank and with coaxial and 3 MMGs for 225 points, and you can give them some upgrades. Upgrade some toward MMGs to double MMG. So it's a armored all-around armored gunboat. The first time a damage roll resolved against the Bronekater equals or exceeds the Bronekater's damage value, the result on the damage result is always considered to be a 1. Can only move in seas in R's deep or shallow waters. Oh, it can also have a multi-launcher. Just like that. So, this is a medium tank. It can transport troops. It can fire the crap out of the opponent. I don't know what sense, why it's here. Honestly, I don't know why it's here. Anti-aircraft vehicles. Tokarev Quad Maxim on Gage 4. So you have your nice, cute, soft-skiing vehicle with 4 turret-mounted MMGs for 55 points. I'd say it's a pretty decent investment. The only drawback, it's a stationary firing platform. You cannot shoot if you advance. Armor cars. BA-64. Again, various stuff. Again, I'm not gonna read through every single one of them. BA-64 is interesting because you can have it mount an HMG. So for 85 points per regular, you have Recce Flak HMG toting armor car running around. You had BA-20, just LMG, BA-10, light anti-tank gun, Recce, BA-3/6, heavy armor car, light anti-tank gun, with some LMGs, which are, remember, they are way worse on vehicles, they only shoot twice. Recce, D8 light armor car, again armor cars, LMGs, just LMGs, some LMGs, nothing to write home about, nothing that you will ever see on the battlefield. FAI armor car, turret mounted LMG, which is pretty useless, again 2 shots, pretty ridiculous. Okay, so the armor cars basically suck. The best is the one with a light anti-tank gun. You can have nothing, or one with HMG. You don't have anything with autocannons that are usually your go-to picks for competitive gameplay. You have the truck, the Gaz track, which seats up to 12. Soft skin can have one LMG. Half track, similar to the Moltier, and basically the also the M3-ish. Tracked artillery tractor, soft skin, can be armored, but it has no carrying capacity, so it just tows. Yeah, the Jeep, the classical Jeep, can be either purchased as a transport for up to 3 men or be converted into an LMG. Never mind, base. That can become an HMG Jeep, though. Can be recce. If option taken, which I don't see anywhere. Oh yeah. Yeah, it can be recce. And there comes some mullets. This is a way cuter armor carrier. For 46 points at regular, you have an armor 7 armor carrier with an LMG that brings top. It's open top again. Probably the half track is just better, but yeah, it's definitely better. Oh, but it's only soft skin. Never mind. It sucks. So this is your half track of choice. You have the Arasan, which is useless. Horse-drawn limber, not even gonna mention it. Field ambulance, it's what you imagine it to be. And then we have a list of Lend-Lease vehicles. Again, very briefly, you have the Valentine 127A, you have the M3 Steward, the M5A1 Steward, the Tetrarch, the Wolverine, the M3 Lee. You have the Sherman 75 and 76mm, the Matilda, the Churchill, some versions of the Churchill, not all of them. You can have the T-48 motor carriage, M16 and M17, White Scout car, the half track, here it is, the half track, the real half track, and the universal carrier. These follow basically the same rule, I think. I didn't read them all thoroughly, I'll be honest, because I get real bored real fast. And finally, you have the sample armies. Again, these are just that, sample armies. And the 4 selection guides with the usual distinction in early, mid-war, and late war selection. Now, which in a clutch, it works as a system. What we really do need is a system that worked like the old selectors from Bolt Action version 2, because having just early, mid, late, it can lead to, in my opinion, to many shenanigans, even more shenanigans that already are bound to happen. Anyway, this was Armies of the Soviet Union. Quality of the book, it's literally is the same as any other army book. Again, probably wouldn't suggest buying it unless you are a collector, just using your Warlord app, for example, to build your armies is way easier. Because, of course, again, the big problem with physical books is that when erratas and little changes come along, your book isn't pristine any longer, which to some people can be a bother. I know I am one among them. This said, this was the quick-ish review of the armies of the Soviet Union. And there's gonna be more content coming over soon. So thank you if you have been patient enough to remain until this point. And as usual, I will see you in the next video. Until that time, be safe and ciao ciao.